Welcome learners. Today the topic of our discussion is importance of play in the development of a child. The objectives of our discussion today are, we'll be discussing what play is, what are the characteristics of the play. We'll also discuss the role of play in the child's development. We'll look at can play be used to observe and understand children's development, and we'll discuss different kinds of play, and we'll also look at the factors that influence play. What is play? All children play. You will never be able to sit a group of children. It is very rare to see a group of children who are just sitting and not doing anything. It will be very rare. It will also be very surprising. Children are always playing. But what is it how do you define play? I'll give you 2-3 examples. So there's a child who sees there's a water pipe in the garden. The child picks up the pipe and the water is flowing with the pressure. Suddenly the child puts the finger in the pipe. As the child puts the finger in the pipe, the water then comes out into different directions. The child takes out the finger, repeats the same action again few times, and then puts the pipe down and runs away to play. Is this play? Is this interaction? Is this the way the child handled the pipe? Do you call it play? Or yes or no? Then there's this 5-month-old baby who's lying on the bed and is moving the hands and the feet. And in the process of moving the hands and the feet, the child holds the corner of the sheet, the bed sheet or the sheet, and the child is able to hold it and bring it to his or her mouth. And the mother's there, the mother takes the sheet out. The child puts the sheet in. Is that play? And say 8 years old running around trying to catch another child, and then 2 children catch one child and they create a little chain, and then the 3 children run and try to catch other children. I think we all agree that all these are play. All these are different types of play. And yet, if it comes to discussing what are some of the characteristics of play, we start thinking, what is it? What are the things? What are the parameters of an activity that we can say that this is play? Let's discuss some of these. The first is play is fun. It is not something that's like a burden, and it's not work. So for a carpenter who's earning money by doing woodwork, that's work for him. But when a child as a hobby picks up carpentry and is creating something, that's play for the child. Similarly, when it comes to say coins, when children are being given coins in the classroom and they're being asked to add and how many coins are there, how many rupees does it form, then it becomes more of a work. But when children are playing a role play whereby they've created a market scene and they're buying vegetables and selling vegetables and using coins, then it becomes play. So a very, very important criteria for play is play has to be fun, something that you enjoy, something that the child enjoys. Then play is enjoyable for its own sake. You don't need a reward. We do tend to tell our children, finish your homework and then you can play. So that's play is because we know that the children enjoy play. And you don't have to say, if you do this, I'll give you this. You never have to say, please play and then you will get this, you get a chocolate. Play is a reward for itself. Children enjoy it. It gives satisfaction to children. So an activity that the children enjoy without any expectation, without any reward, that is play. Activity in which participation is spontaneous, it's quick and of child's will. And this is a very important criteria. We cannot tell the child what to play. If we tell that, then it becomes a kind of a structured activity. When it's a play by the child decides what to play, with what stuff to play, how long to play, when to stop. So it's not forced and the child enjoys it. And the next is children take their play very seriously. For us, it's just 2 children sitting and playing, whatever. They've empty cartons of something, or toothpaste or some other grocery that has come, and the cartons are empty. They're playing. But for the child, this is serious play. So when you observe a child playing, you see how engrossed the child is in that play. The child is not bothered what's happening in and around. And in case you plan to do something or tell the child, oh, he's created a carton, he calls it a train. And you think it looks more like a house, but the child may not agree. Because for the child thinks the box is a train and the child is using the box as a train. Okay, so here now that we've understood what is play, what are some of the characteristics of play, then the next thing that we should discuss is why do children play? What is that need to play? What does it do to you? What does it do to the children? And the different views by different people. But some things that have come out of all these views is that children practice life skills. What are those life skills? Those are the skills where children get ready to play adult roles. So anything that the child is doing, that whole game of teacher and student which children play, or ghar ghar, and then they create roles for themselves, or doctor patient, or any battlefields, kings fighting, all those they are somehow learning the skills of adult roles. Also, another reason why children play is they're expending energy. A lot of energy children have, and this is a very, very constructive way of using that energy. Then relaxation. Play also helps children to relax, which is important. And another theory that's given is that play helps children to escape. Now, escape from what? They say every day there's so many adults, and in a hierarchy, adults are always more powerful than children in many ways. Consciously or unconsciously, they may say things or may do things that may stress the child, or the child may not like it. There's no way the child can answer back. Then there's no way that the child can do that, tell the parent that you're wrong or I didn't like what you said. But through play, the child is able to escape that everyday routine. So something like, okay, and then children learn through play. All kinds of development. We look at the role of development in role of play in development. Children learn through play, and especially if we've seen children who have been in institutions. By institutions, we mean children who stay in places. They're not staying with their parents, but they're staying in a place, an orphanage or another institute for children who are big. It has been seen that or the children are looked after there. They are given meals, 3 meals a day. The clothes are being changed. All that other medical services are there. Doctors come and treat them, check up, immunization, everything is there. But somehow what has been seen that because the adult-child ratio, there's one adult and there are many children. And the caregivers are working in shifts, 24-hour shifts, so 8 hours. So the caregiver also keeps changing. It has been found that somehow because of the institutional atmosphere and the play, there's not enough of play that's happening in these institutions. And although the children are otherwise fine developmentally through heredity, there's no other disability or so, but it has been found that the development in all these physical, social, emotional development, all the areas of development lacks in these children. So which shows that play is such an important component. So we look at the role of play in development for children of all age groups. The first area that we'll discuss is cognitive development. Play promotes in fact cognitive development. How does it do it? It actually helps you to explore, to examine things, to find out answers to your questions, to discover when you're opening up something, there's a toy or even a telephone in the house, a landline phone that has broken down, and the child opens it up and looks at what's inside there, some springs, some screws, all that the child is doing. The child is exploring and learning for himself or herself. A lot of things that children do, they are throwing stones in the water, and every time they splash, the water splashes. If it's a bigger stone, there's more water outside. All these things are teaching them different concepts of heavy and light and stuff. There's an example that I'll discuss is whereby a girl, she is playing with a clay pot and she puts the clay pot on a ladder, and the clay pot falls. As it falls, it breaks down into pieces. So the child is amazed, and she picks up those pieces and again puts the piece up on the ladder. And again, as the piece falls, it breaks into smaller pieces. But after a point, once the clay pot pieces are small, they do not break once they fall down. So although the child is not asking, and then she leaves it and she goes inside the house and starts playing. But there's this information that has got into the child that probably something to do with clay pots and from a height, when things fall, some things break. and they break into smaller pieces. And every day, so many of these things the child is observing and playing with. All this information gets collected in the child, and the child is able to understand different concepts. In play, children have the freedom to choose things which interest them. That's also very, very interesting. As an adult, I may give the child something. If I don't understand the skills of the child, the abilities of the child, I may give the child something that's probably too easy for the child. You must have seen sometimes you bring a toy and the child is not interested because probably the toy does something and the child has played with it, or the child's age group and the ability and the interest of the child doesn't match the toy. So the toy is kept aside. And there are things, sometimes the child will just bring some sticks from outside, or some stones, or some leaves, or anything, a discarded item. And you feel like asking, do you want to play with this? But the child wants to play with this. What is it? Because it gives the child the freedom to choose, and the child picks up things actually which are neither too difficult nor too easy. The child is always challenging himself or herself. You'll see a child playing with an object for some days and then the child leaves that object. Because finally, whatever it is there for the child in that object to explore, the child has already done it. And then the child moves on to something else in the house. So, in this case, when things are challenging and yet not too difficult and interesting for the child because the child has decided to pick it up himself, then learning becomes pleasure. It's not a burden for the child. The child doesn't have to force himself or herself to do it. The child is cognitively ready to do that thing. Also, since children learn by doing, and there's no better way to understand anything rather than doing it. A simple thing as an adult, if you hear a recipe, it is not very easy to replicate it. But once you cook it yourself, you understand that things went this way, you should have added more of some ingredient or the other. Similarly for a child, if the child who played with a clay pot and understood that a bigger piece, when it falls on certain surfaces, it breaks. But if the same thing was explained to the child orally, probably the child would not have shown any interest. And even if the child would have heard it out, after some time the child may have just forgotten about it. Then what is the role of a caregiver? When we are saying the child learns to do himself, chooses his or her activities, decides what he wants to do, doesn't want to be told by adults. Then one way, are we saying that caregivers are not required? We don't need an adult because the child is good enough to decide what he wants to do? No, it is not that. Yes, children learn themselves, but there's the caregivers, the teachers, the parents, the adults around the child can play a very important role in helping the child's development. So how do they do this? Caregivers or adults help children understand their discoveries. So in case of this girl with the clay pot who was playing with the pot, if the parent or the teacher or the adult who is around can actually talk about it a little more. So whatever the child has, one can ask questions. Why is it that the small piece is not breaking more? Or have we tried throwing it from a much higher place? What happens then? What about if we change the surface where it falls? So if a piece falls on grass or mud, or if it falls on concrete, is there a difference? The way the pieces are going to break? So all these are, by doing all that, the caregiver will extend the child's discovery, will help the child to discover more. Also, one can not only wait for, what is the role of a caregiver? As a teacher, if I feel the way I plan my activities, I can actually create opportunities. All the opportunities are not going to be around the child's day. So if I plan a trip to a place, if I plan a trip to a farmhouse or a zoo or some place, I've created an opportunity for discovery. So if I take the children to a zoo, and where they get to see different animals, hear their sounds, see their enclosures, what they're eating, I've planned and created a lot of experiences for them. So I don't have to keep waiting that the child will on his own pick up this thing and explore. Children do that all the time. And yet when they are with the caregiver, so you can plan things. Something like a water play. a water play activity whereby just containers and different things. So something like a pen, a paper, a plastic item, some wood piece, a metal, some nails. I've collected some things. I've got some containers and then I bring it to the children and then I ask the children to put all those objects one by one in the water. And the whole concept of what floats and what sinks. And then a discussion. Is there something common between objects which float and is there something common between objects that sink? So here I've planned an activity that helps the children to discover the concept of sink and float and heavy and light. So all these will also lead to discovery and the caregiver can play a very important role in helping the child. In fact, all concepts can be taught through play. Play is the best medium for children to learn all concepts, whether it's colors, shapes, it's about the seasons, it's about the festivals. Anything that the child has to be taught can be taught through play. We just need a very creative caregiver who is trained and understands how to plan activities. Since we say play promotes cognitive development, it also promotes imagination and creativity. Children imagine what it is. If in play, generally they are acting role plays. They are acting as if they are someone else. So those times they are learning the appropriate behavior. So something like a child, a girl who's playing with a doll and she's acting like she's the mother of the baby and she's telling the baby, don't have too many sweets. If you eat too many sweets, you're going to have cavities in your teeth. And the same thing the mother has told the child, which the child is now telling the doll. In that way, the child is actually showing the appropriate behavior that is expected out of her through play. Make-believe is a part of children's play and this is all about creativity. So anything, a plate that has been a broken plate, one child may use it as a table for the doll, the other child may use it as some part of a spaceship. So the child is being very creative because in make-believe, anything could be anything. You could become anything, the objects could be anything. So a pen can become a rocket when it comes to pretend play. Play also provides a flexible situation. So when there's a lot of flexibility, there's scope for creativity. So matchboxes, a lot of matchboxes lined together, they can become a train for the child. All the imagination is nurtured by play and it helps the child to deal with the day-to-day situations. Then play also promotes physical and motor development. All the opportunities that the children get in the house, in the preschool, in other places, these are all the activities somehow promote physical and motor development. Even a 4-month baby and the mother shows a rattle and the rattle moves and the child looks at it and the child wants to take the rattle. The child is at a little distance, probably lying on the bed and the mother is sitting on the next side. So what the child has to now roll over. So a 4-month baby is trying to roll over and in that process, the child is exercising his or her motor abilities. So gross motor, everything from jumping to running to hopping to walking on the bricks. All these plays that involve such activities are plays that enhance the gross motor skills of the child. Similarly, anything to do with hands that the children are doing, whether they are playing with clay or sand or leaves or they are trying to put things together, blocks are being put as a tower, all that enhances the fine motor skills. So physical and motor development are always integral to play. Then play also helps in acquiring language. Playful interactions with caregivers. There's a lot of opportunity in play to speak. So hear language, speak language. When you're working with your friends, you want some material, you say, okay, let's make this. चल ये बनाते हैं, tower बनाते हैं, बाहर चलते हैं. All that the child is continuously speaking and hearing. That helps in language. Also, in language, the child is also helped in all these play activities for his pre-reading and pre-writing skills. All these are learned through play. There's a lot of this thing about schools, the child has to read and write. So some schools, preschools actually tend to, or even parents tend to force the child to write, a 3-year-old to write alphabets and numbers. Absolutely not required. All the play that the child is doing, when the child is playing with some circular things, big and small, The child knows if it's a red circle and it's a small green circle, they are both circles. The same thing the child is going to apply when the child sees an alphabet, a capital and a small, somewhere in the book later. All the activities, all the shapes that the child is collecting, all the sticks that the child is correcting, the small and the big, all those help the child later to recognize alphabets, numbers, or to write, or to put those alphabets within lines. So all these are actually pre-reading, all the segregation of leaves, stones, big, small. All these are pre-reading and pre-writing skills that the child is learning through play. The child doesn't have to be asked to do what the child is required, say when the child is 6 or 7 years old, to be done at 3 years old. It helps. All the language, all the pre-reading, the pre-writing skills are there in play. Play also helps in fine motor development, which is required for writing. So all the puzzle pieces that the child puts in, all the eye-hand coordination things, all the beads that are put in a string, or all the things that the child lines up on a table together, one car, another car, all back to back, all that is a very good example of fine motor development, which actually the child can use later as the child grows in writing. Play also helps children to be social, the social development part of development. All the daily interactions, initially also with an infant, when the infant and the mother are playing, initially the infant doesn't know I'm a separate being. But as the infant grows and he does something, even when he makes a little sound, sounds of some babbling, some cooing, or ba 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 ba, those sounds, and there's an adult passing by, and the adult looks at the baby and says, "Oh, you calling me? What are you doing? You want something?" That kind of, so the infant realizes that I'm separate from somebody. I'm an entity. I'm an individual, and I can have an impact on the objects and my environment. During play, the infant begins to understand the effect she or he has on the people and the objects in the environment. So the infant, you give the infant a ball, a 6 months baby, the baby throws the ball and the ball goes down. So I know I can make things move, squeeze the toys, put them in the mouth, all those I can do. And all this exploration gives the child confidence, a feeling of independence. And as the child grows, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, they want to do everything themselves. That feeling of independence helps the child to be much more social, to interact with others. And as the child grows, when the child is in smaller groups in a preschool, the child learns to share, whether it's material. The child has to follow rules slowly as the child is growing. What can be done, what cannot be done, and to take another person's point of view also. So if you're working with another child who has a toy, you want that toy, but you will probably have to give something to the child also. So those ways the child learns a lot of rules of the social environment. Play helps in emotional development also. It's a very good opportunity to express your emotions, and especially the ones which are not allowed in a situation. I'll give you an example of a child. Probably the child is being regularly, very frequently punished by the parents or the father, or probably sometimes even physically punished, a slap or so. So what does the child do? The child has this pent-up energy, this frustration about this whole thing. So when the child is playing with a monkey or a toy or something, the child is scolding or probably gives the toy a little slap and somehow expresses his emotions of being upset or being angry with somebody. This helps the child who cannot otherwise. It will all be pent up in the child if the child is not able to express that emotion. Play helps in academic readiness. We already talked about it. All the pre-reading, the pre-writing skills that we discussed that happen through play will all help in academic readiness later. So preschool, before the school, the term only says you getting ready for the school, those kinds of things. Play is also a means of understanding children's development. So when we look at children, we get to know what they can do or what they cannot do. Children's ability, their level of understanding, what kind of a personality does the child have. All these you are able to see when you are able to look at, observe children. In fact, that's the time children are not even very conscious when you observe them playing. And so you will be able to see what can a child do, what can a 3-year-old do and what a 5-year-old can do. Or probably a 3-year-old is riding a tricycle and exploring the environment. But a 6-year-old can even probably climb a small tree or something like that. So we get to know what the child can do through the play we can observe that. Play and learning, they are so interlinked. Every age, if you see, all the learning is happening through play. So in infancy, you're able to see the child is learning through whatever the child is doing. All the things that the child is picking up, the child is exploring. And then play also helps, it holds the child's attention. If you see, the child has a very short attention span. But if you see children playing, they'll spend time, and slowly as they play, the time increases for those activities. The play is able to hold the child's attention. And learning through play is always fun. And anything that is fun actually encourages the person to learn. The different kinds of play that we can talk about depends on the space availability or the material that is being used or the skill of the child. So we have this play, free and structured play. As the name suggests, free is when the child is free to pick up a toy or a game or an object and use it the way the child wants to use. And while structured is when somebody structures it for the child. Say if the teacher gives all children some clay and says, see, we all have to create an apple out of it, then it becomes a structured activity. But when the children pick up the clay and create whatever they want to, then it's a free play. Similarly, outdoor and indoor, as the name suggests, all the activities, running, jumping, hopping, all that happens outdoors is outdoor play, and all that is done inside the rooms is indoor play. The next is individual and group play. Children like to play on their own also, especially young children till 3 or 4 years of age. They're not able to do a lot of group play. They're not able to understand the other children and their needs. And so they play individually. That's individual play. And group play, when in small groups or a little bigger groups, children play together, share material, create something. Those are group play activities. Vigorous and quiet play. Quiet play is where children are just sitting, probably doing a puzzle, blocks, those kinds of things. And vigorous play is where there's a lot of energy involved. So a lot of running around when it's involved. They're jumping, playing a musical chair or dancing to some music. Those are vigorous play activities. And the last category that we can discuss is sensory, motor and symbolic play. In the first 2 years of life, most of the play that happens for a child is through the child's senses. The child touches something and then feels it, tastes it, smells it, uses the senses, and the child's motor ability. So if the child can crawl, the child will move to some object and pick it up. So senses and motor. And as the child reaches the age of 2, then that's the time the child starts some kind of a symbolic play, which means that the child starts using things as a symbol. That's the time the child may just invert a cup and say it's a mountain, or create it as a table for the doll or something. These are some different kinds of play that children do. The last topic for the day is factors that affect play. There are various factors. The first is the age of the child. Depending on the age of the child, the kind of the play keeps changing, the content of the play keeps changing, and the amount also. So the same toy, if you see, is being used by different children in different ways. So while a 3-year-old may just talk to the doll or keep the doll, a 6-year-old girl, when is playing with the doll, will maybe decorate the doll a little more, change the dresses more, or talk to the doll about other things. Does gender impact play? This is very interesting. If you see infants, children around till 2 years of age, you will see boys and girls. Their play is very similar. And yet, as they are growing, after that, you see boys tend to pick up certain kinds of toys or get involved in certain kinds of activities. And girls choose some other things like dolls or kitchen utensils or those kinds of things. And the question here is this all physiological? Is it that as boys and girls grow, they do different things? Is it to do with our physical aspects of our physical and physiological aspects of our bodies, or is it more about social expectations? Is it that parents don't want the boys to play with dolls and the girls to probably climb trees and do battlefields and with swords and run around and try to kill each other, those kinds of games, or with guns? So what is it? It has been seen that actually it's the societies, it's the expectations from the adults around. It is not that the boys would not like to play, but they've not been offered those kinds of toy material. And even if they were playing, somewhere or the other, somebody has said something. What are you playing with, the doll? Are you a girl? Or something like that. Those kinds of comments. And slowly, as children grow, their toys, the material, the kind of activities also. So for girls, it's like play girl-like games. Ladkiyon ki tarah khelo. Those terms, all these messages that are coming to the girl slowly. And then she picks up certain kinds of things. And even the activities that the girls are required to probably help the mother somewhere in the kitchen or do those kinds of tasks. And the play is also something like that. Then culture. All cultures have some child rearing practices. Something like massage in a lot of Indian cultures. So all those are activities that are based. We have specific toys from different areas, different states of our countries, wooden toys from some specific states, and paper toys from another place. All that impacts. Other things like social class, what kind of money does the family have, what kind of time does the family have, where is the child staying, in a city or in a slum or in a village, that will impact the play. Even the books, the TV, the audiovisual medium affects the kind of play children have. But the most important, this thing is the quality of experiences. The most important thing, irrespective of whether the parents have the money, they do not have the money, does the child have enough toys or not, the most important thing is quality of experiences. A child from a poor family also, where the parents are able to devote time to the child, the father is able to talk to the child, play with the child with whatever little material that has. And another family whereby there may be a lot of money, a lot of toys, material, but adults are not available. The parents are too busy for the child. They don't have time for the child. In this case, probably the child in the family, in a poor family, has better opportunities for development.